Thanks a lot, and I appreciate your listening, because what I'm about to tell you is very poignant and very profound, because it's about a wine family that's made a major difference to everyone in this room, just like a few other wine families have, but they're really special. This year's Lifetime Achievement Award winners are brothers Bob and Roger Trinchero. Bob and Roger have made their marks in many different areas of our industry. They've grown Trinchero family estates to 8,000 acres of vineyards that produce 17 million cases across 44 distinctive brands. Think about Menage a Trois and many others. They invented a series of brilliant breakthroughs, packaging innovations that include single-serve varietals and non-cork closures. And they have built a sustainably minded wine company and are well-respected for taking care of their employees and for supporting their local communities. But even with all of these great achievements, Bob and Roger's biggest accomplishment may be that they introduced millions of American wine consumers to wine with the invention of a pink wine called White Zinfandel. So, yeah, okay, let's hear it for that, White. Sutter Home White Zinfandel played a crucial role in transforming the U.S. into the world's largest wine-consuming nation, and the Trinchero brothers parlayed that success and built one of the most impressive wine companies in the world.
What would my father be most proud of? I think just our success. You know, he probably wouldn't understand it any more than I do, you know, but I am pretty proud of it. My uncle came here into the Napa Valley in 1945. He was a winemaker in New Jersey, of all places.
My uncle saw this decrepit old winery that was abandoned.
And he said, wow, I think we can start here. He started writing to my father. New York City is no place to raise children. Come on to sunny California, that sort of thing.
And, you know, he talked my dad into hockey and everything we had. We moved out from New York. I was only 2 years old at the time. This was back in 1948.
For me, it was an adventure. I was 12 years old. Man, this is a great adventure.
I remember my dad spending long hours in the winery. Back then you had to do that because, you know, the only people working at the winery was my dad and my uncle at the time. We would go around to the various tasting rooms in the valley and get their used bottles, and my job on the weekends was to wash and sterilize those bottles so we could reuse them. We did it because we couldn't afford to buy new glass for our wines.
Sustainability for us was about survival.
We all took turns in the winery. My wife, which, thank God love her, we went 5 years without a day off. And our kids grew up in the winery.
And we had a 7-head filler, hand filler. That was our bottling line. And we were doing half-gallon and gallon jugs. And I remember as a little kid, could barely move them. And there's my Aunt Evelyn and my grandma. And they go every other one, and they stick it in the cradle, and they label it, and then they put it on. But if we did 100 cases that day, we were kicking ass, right?
I mean, I remember when in the mid-60s, my father and I, we went to the bank, and the bank turned us down for a $5,000 loan, which almost threw us into bankruptcy.
When we were small, or even in our teens, we remember what it was like, and we were struggling. There was no future in the wine industry for us.
The family started just to make sure they can make ends meet, to put food on the table, and it was basically a business, you know? They knew how to make wine, they knew how to sell it, and that's the way it went for so many years.
I became the winemaker by default. Then I came out with this little pink stuff called White Zinfandel.
That just, you know, catapulted us into the national scene. And suddenly this company began to mushroom into something that we had never dreamed was possible. We relied on the winery to make our living. So we had to innovate to keep moving forward. So we propagated the white Zinfandel, we moved that forward. Then we began coming out with other innovative products, the 187 single service. I approached our glass company and asked them to produce a 187 bottle that looks like a little bottle of wine. And now we're the leader in the industry in 187s. We sell more 187 bottles than any other winery out there.
When they made a decision to move from New York to here to basically nothing, they were very comfortable in New York. They'd probably look at each other and say, you know what, it was all worthwhile.
And I recall we were crushing grapes. I was driving the forklift with the dump bins, and my sister was out there with the weigh tags, and my brother was operating the crusher stemmer, and my mom and dad were sitting outside in lawn chairs with their cocktails, watching their 3 kids work in the winery, and I could see the satisfaction in my dad's face to see his 3 children, you know, taking over for something he started. And now I'm able to pass that on to my sons and my sister's sons and my brother's daughter and son and their children, and hopefully they will continue the legacy that my dad started so many years ago.
Here to accept the very well-deserved Wine Star Award for Lifetime Achievement are Bob and Roger Trinchero.
Oh, okay. I'm glad we got one each, so we don't have to share.
Right.
Go ahead.
How come you're taller than me? We had the same parents.
It was the Iceman.
The Iceman, yeah. For you young people, you don't know what the Iceman was. He was the guy in New York City who used to bring up a block of ice because all we had was ice boxes back then. But anyway, and of course, he was the father of a lot of children. Yeah, that's bright light. Okay.
Don't wait. Just look up.
Okay. Thanks, Raj. Mom always did like you best, you know. This past vintage marked 70 years of vintages at our winery. And yeah. And I always knew that if I could hang on long enough, somebody was bound to give me a trophy. Adam, it took you 70 years, but I finally got that trophy. Anyway, how can I tell you how happy we are and pleased with this award? Really, thank you very much.
Yeah, Adam Civil, thank you so much for this award. We really appreciate it. We accept this on behalf of a lot of people that are responsible for us standing up here. I pardon my voice, I'm losing it. First of all, primarily my mom and dad. My dad for having the vision, my mom for sticking with them during the hard times. For all our employees who go to work every day and dedicate themselves to producing the best quality products they possibly can. And to our wholesale and retail customers who've supported us over the years, to the consumers who fell in love with our products and demanded more of it. That's what made us to where we're at today. And a special thanks to my sister, who was the glue that kept us together, and who always would remind us to always remember to pass our success on to those who need. Thank you very much.